Have you ever asked yourself why you do the things that you do? Maybe you pray before you eat a meal, or maybe you say the word like more than you think you should. These are examples of learned behaviors that we've adopted throughout our lives based on external pressures that have shaped us into the person that we are today. And that's exactly what I plan to explore in this video, how our learned behaviors are just that. We learn them as we went along. And maybe it would be better if we forgot some of those behaviors. Hi, I'm Jonathan, and on this channel, I discuss the tools and methods that I've learned and adopted over the years to build a meaningful and sincere life. Today's topic is self-authorship, defining the rules upon which your inner operating system runs. Your life is running on code that you didn't write, and my suggestion is that you must audit this code and edit your personal operating system. Most of us run on what's called inherited code. These are things like rules from your parents, media, and cultural assumptions. And there's a friction point that underlies that. And what I mean by that is that this unexamined code will create friction in your life, making growth difficult and joyless. And the solution I offer here is that you are the code author. It is your right, and in fact, your duty, to delete and rewrite the internal rules. So let's discuss how we do that. We'll break that down a little bit. Now, if you're familiar with programming or software development in any way, you've surely heard this term before. There's a bug in the code, right? There's bugs in the code. In this case, there's bugs in our operating system. So the first step is to identify the bugs. Find the rules that are causing failure. So for example, you might have a sincere belief in your mind that you must be perfect. This might be a routine that runs in your mind, or it's selfish to rest, or I'm not qualified. So the trick is to find the source of these bugs and where these rules lie in your mind. You want to trace the rule back to its origin. Who taught it to you? How did you come to believe that? And by doing so, you're actually removing its power. You are essentially removing the sting or the bites or the venom that gets imposed when that action in your mind gets triggered, when that belief gets triggered. And again, we're doing an audit here. So this is not meant to remove useful things that are beneficial and integral to your higher being. These are things that are not serving you, that are actually maybe holding you back in a lot of ways. So there's a test you can do. You want to ask yourself, and this goes back to the previous conversation we had here about the historicity of your person, how you're a historical being throughout time, and how you should look at yourself as such, right? You're not just existing now, you're existing now, but you'll also be part of history in the making. So the test here is, does this rule serve the historical me? If this does not serve you in your current present moment in a beneficial way, even if it's neutral, if there's any kind of weight to it that isn't adding some net positive to your life, it should be discarded. There's some things you can keep that are neutral. Maybe there's a mannerism you do. Maybe there's like a little quirk you have, right? A little personality thing. Totally fine. But generally speaking, we're talking about adopted behaviors. You want to examine each one sincerely. You want to look at it carefully and make sure that it's something you really want to keep for yourself. I can give you kind of an example. I'm from Canada, so I'm a Canadian, and I have an inherited accent just based on the fact that I was brought up here, right? I adopted the accent of the people around me who raised me and who I hung around. And it occurred to me several years ago in my early 20s that I have a choice over whether or not I want to continue speaking in the way that I do. Now, obviously, there's certain limitations to what I can modify in that regard. However, there's certain ways of saying different words that I've adopted that are more of an American stance, or just other dialects or other areas that I found sounded more impactful, more distinct, and I like them better. And so this is the same idea, right? I would adopt certain ways of saying certain words to match my inner ideal self, and I found those more impactful, more meaningful. For example, the way I say sure, or I say pecan or aunt instead of aunt or pecan, which is more common for where I'm from. Now, there will always be things you can't change. So in the same example, I will try to say about, but oftentimes I'll say about, because that's just kind of an inherited thing that I subconsciously just say when I'm speaking fast and I'm not consciously aware of what I'm saying. And that's fine. These are neutral things. They're not hurting anything. If anything, they're probably beneficial in a lot of ways, because a lot of people think people from where I'm from are decent, wholesome people, which is totally great. But what I'm referring to more specifically is you want to test if the thing that you do, the action you take, or the behavior you have is benefiting you or serving you, instead of you serving it, instead of you bowing to its wants and its needs. and in controlling your life in a way that removes your autonomy, your power over yourself, and your ability to rule over your own self and be the sovereign of your own mind. So again, the examples I had used for you here, I must be perfect. It's selfish to rest, when clearly you might need some rest. I'm not qualified. Maybe you're afraid to take on a job, right? I'm not qualified. I can't apply for this job out of fear of the rejection. I'm not good enough. That's essentially the root of it. And these are all limiting beliefs. That's what I would refer to them as. They're limiting beliefs and behaviors, and they're things that are not serving your higher being. Because in reality, you can do a lot more than you think, and you're capable of a lot more than you think. And when you let go and you shed these bugs in your code, when you shed these learned behaviors that are not benefiting you, it opens up a space for you to take a step beyond who you've been and become the person you wish to be, which is really and ideally your higher self. So again, the test is you ask yourself, does this rule serve me? Does it serve the historical me? And if it doesn't, delete it from your code, delete it from your operating system. Just remove it from your mind. Accept that it's been there and say, hey, from now on, I've taken a mental note. If I hear this idea or this behavior or this self-limiting belief in my mind when it comes up, I am not going to take it seriously because I know it's my mind speaking to me and not the real me within from my heart and my soul that's coming forward. And this applies to any behavior. Now, obviously, if you're not used to doing this, it's a bit of a courageous step, right? So my next point here was you have to have the courage to edit your own code. You have to have the courage to decide that you're allowed to do this. You have to basically give yourself permission. And to me, that always seemed strange. And I had to do this for myself as well when I first learned about this kind of thing. And I hadn't conceptualized it fully back then, but now that I've put it to paper and I've kind of thought through it a little more, you do have to have courage, and you have to actually sometimes ask yourself permission to change things, because your inner self is locked together, right? It's tightly wound, and at least for a lot of us. Maybe you're very free-flowing and you don't have this issue. Great, good for you. I'm so happy for you, seriously. But for the majority of us, you have to have the courage to edit, and you have to give yourself permission to do so. And the nice thing is, just like again, this is a skill. Like any other skill, once you do it a few times, it gets easier because you're building up that resistance, and that gives you the confidence, and it teaches your mind that you can change and you can become confident and more skilled in that area of changing your code and changing yourself and modifying yourself to become a higher version of who you can be. So the comparison here is really the external versus the internal. It's important to stop seeking external validation. Your audience is tiny, and the fear of judgment is a self-imposed prison. So I'd like to offer you a new rule to adopt for yourself, which I've also done in my own life to great success. And the new rule is, done is better than perfect. The courage to do something badly or poorly at first is the precondition for becoming great at that thing. You have to be willing to do something poorly and badly in order to learn and stumble and fail forward. A failure is only a failure and a waste if you don't gain experience from it. But anytime you fail, the fact that you're aware of failing is in itself showing you that you've got experience from it, because you know you failed. And the nice thing is, if you're at the bottom of a skill set and you're trying to learn it, if you go up and you fail, you still got some experience in that area. You still know more than you did. You still have an idea of what you're up against, right? So it gives you an advantage over your past self. And like that in itself should give you the confidence to try again and try to get further. Because every time you get further, even if you keep failing, you're still reaching a new height, and that height gives you more experience and more wisdom, and that is invaluable. So again, the courage to be bad is the precondition for getting great. And then I'd like to talk about the final authority. So every no that you say to an old inherited rule is a powerful yes to your self-authored code. And I'd like to pose a challenge to you. Identify one core belief or rule that you'll deliberately delete from your operating system this week. Write down its positive replacement. So for example, if you decided that work is suffering a long time ago and you inherited that belief, replace it with work is just focused play. The world is what we make of it. And it's incumbent upon us to decide how we're going to handle each situation, each moment, each day. I would encourage you to take this seriously, because your life matters. Your life is meaningful, and it's ever more meaningful the deeper you go and the more you bear the responsibility to be your best self and to aim higher and to do more with the limited time that you have. If you found this video beneficial, please give it a like. If you have anything to add, leave a comment down below. And if you'd like to see more content like this about living a sincere and meaningful life, subscribe to my channel, Jonathan's Sincere Life, where I discuss topics of all sorts on how to live the most meaningful and impactful and sincere life that you can. And if you'd like a copy of today's video outline for your own reference in PDF form, there's a link right down below. You can get it immediately. So again, I've been Jonathan. This is my sincere life. And thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one. May you be well.